Yeah, that's fine. Ready? Yep. All right. Well, welcome to the Gyaff then. Maggie, Megan.
Margaret, so many names.
What's the stage name?
It's
Officially
Megan. It's
So-
Megan, for sure.
Megan,
It's
okay.
Megan. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Well, so glad to have you here.
I'm so honored to be here. This is like one of my newfound favorite podcasts. So I've listened to everyone so far. So I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
cannot believe I'm on the Gyaff right now. This is so exciting.
Too bad we ain't got like a live performing band for you. It's more of a mellow.
Yeah,
kind of
no,
show.
I'm
Yeah.
not ready for no live performance.
But you're a first artist actually for this season of recording. So
That's so exciting.
yes, thank you for gracing us.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you.
I was gonna ask you any New Year's resolutions coming up. Since we
Too
got-
many, man. Too many. I feel like I have, all of my years of life in general, I found myself to be a very small dreamer. I've always felt myself to be a very realistic person and say, I want this, but that's not realistic. And I want this, but that's not realistic. And now I'm in a different place. Now realistic is just not in my playbooks. I'm dreaming big. I'm dreaming beyond. Like, even if it doesn't seem realistic, I'm still dreaming it. So
Why the change? What sparked the change?
Oh, so many things. But it honestly, I think it goes down to honestly mental health and learning to love myself for who I am, learning to tune out other people, learning to tune out other people's opinions of me, learning to tune out what people expect of me, what I expected of myself, not taking myself so seriously. I feel like for a long time, I put myself in a box, and I spent upwards of the last 2 years smashing that box. So I am going above and beyond even what I think is possible that I can do, and those are my dreams now.
Yeah.
I don't have any small dreams anymore. They're big. They're Grammys big. They're international big. They're just big.
I respect that tremendously. And I was thinking about what would be a good question to ask you with regard, and we'll get into it, but I was like, how could I relate to what you're going through now on this like journey you're on? And I'm like, how do you get, and it answered my question perfectly. It's like, how do you get over this sort of that sort of judgment, like the public and self-judgment, because it's something I struggle with a lot.
Therapy. I'm gonna say that loud.
Oh, nice.
Therapy. I've been in so much therapy. Listen, the overwhelming pressure on your shoulders sometimes is not even your own.
Yeah.
The burdens that you carry, the pressure that you carry, it's not even. It's coming from other people, but it's put on you by yourself.
Yeah.
It's put on you by yourself. You realize after a certain amount of time, you realize that, hey, nobody watching me. Nobody cares about me but me. Nobody's clocking what I'm doing. Nobody really cares. When you realize that this pressure that's hanging over you is created by yourself, it's so liberating. Just to let it go. It's so liberating.
It's free as hell.
Yeah.
So just,
I've never been more free in my entire life.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
So I know today, are we allowed to talk about
Yeah,
you today?
absolutely.
So
yeah,
I know
yeah.
you finally released new music.
Yes.
Big single.
First time in like decades.
Yeah, I know, right? And actually, you came real hard. I love this song, by the way.
Thank you. Me too.
As the young people would say, it's giving.
It's giving.
That's what they say, right? It's giving.
It's lit. It's giving.
It's giving. For me, it's giving like a Tanya Stevens kind of.
Bless my heart. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
What's her name? Begin with an A.
Elaine. Oh,
That kind of vibe for me, but it's more like a performance vibe, to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm no music critic.
No, but
I love it.
that's exactly what I'm going. I mean, I'm not going to copy these people, but
No.
that's the vibe that I
It feels like
always felt
women-led.
myself. That's where I felt like I've always fit.
Yeah, it's like a woman-led reggae
Yes.
vibesy kind of thing.
I always felt like that, but it just pressures on myself, and I allowed the opinions of others to place me in this box, like I didn't fit, like I didn't belong, like I wasn't worthy of being in that space. I had that on my spirit for a very long time, and now I just don't care.
But that's a human thing, though, right? We all do that.
It is.
Like who even like determines that anyway?
Us. Us. And as soon as we realize that, as you said, it's so freeing. It's so freeing when you realize that the only person limiting you is you. That's it. You up from there.
So what would you describe for Slow Down, the new single? What would you describe that genre as?
I am very much, my voice, is very suited for R&B, jazz, reggae, soul. I have a very soulful voice, and I see myself and I feel myself going into like that reggae / jazzy dance hall fusion area, and that's where I'm trying to put myself, because that's where I feel like I belong. I feel like I've always belonged there, but 15-year-old Megan didn't feel like she fit. I also got a lot of backlash. I mean, I'm not trying to be like negative in this space at all, but growing up and trying to put myself into that genre, I did get a lot of backlash in the beginning, like, where this white girl thinks she going with this, like it didn't seem like a fit then, but I don't know if y'all know about that whole Shania debacle.
I was gonna get to that.
Whew, that catapulted me into the light of people to realize she could do this. She sung good doing this.
Yeah.
But it's like back in the day, I had to fight for people to see me in that light, and now I felt like I was thrust into it in a way.
But so let me just unpack a little bit here for people who didn't go to that concert, which was an amazing concert, by the way. They missed out. And it's the first concert in a long time. I felt that I wasn't robbed of my hard-earned money. Whoever planned that, good job.
I know how you feel. For real.
No, and not just because I got to see you shine, but it just was a good concert. Ashanti was amazing. Just like you, I probably know.
I'm like her biggest fan. I don't know.
I disagree. Like I am.
We can
I probably
fight.
know every.
You want to go battle for lyrics?
Yeah.
I will kick your ass.
Me not gonna lie to you, but me have to tell you something.
Love it when you.
No, I love it, and I was so anyway. So we were at the Shenseea concert, and when she called you up on stage, I remember me and Anna were in the crowd.
I saw y'all. Y'all were close. Y'all were up front.
Yeah, we were real up front, like in the smack middle.
Yeah,
and it was like the most.
saw y'all.
It was the most crowded. I thought like, should anything happen, we'd get trampled there.
It was very
But anyway, so then you went up and then killed
First of all, that was not planned.
No,
a lot of people
I know.
thought it was. I had people saying, "Oh, this was staged." I'm like, no. Listen, I'm gonna be frank. Your girl had a few drinks. I was up front because, as I said, I am her biggest fan. I will fight you for this, right? And I'm standing up in front, and I'm like, yo, and all of a sudden, she's like, who knows this song? And your girl was like, me. And there was no way she wasn't going to see me, because I was jumping and screaming, and people were pointing at me, and I was getting up on that stage, but it was not planned. That was not planned. But people seem to think it was. It wasn't. That was destiny, I like to call it.
Yeah, well, so when you went up, you smashed your performance, which I'm going to play now. And then when you're finished, Anna and I turned to each other and we were like, that's what happened when preparation meets opportunity. It was like it was that in motion.
I've been trying. That's exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah.
I've been preparing for this moment my whole life. And the funny part is, it's funny that that was the song. She could have chose any song. I
Yeah.
was ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
one of her songs. She could have chose any one of her catalog and I would have been ready either way.
Yeah.
That just happened to be the one.
Why do you think like that? Because I've seen that happen before. I remember the 50th, and you talk about being not traditionally like looking like a Guyanese because you're fair complexioned and whatever doesn't make you any less Guyanese. But I get it. But I've seen that happen once with Robert Hiscock.
Yeah.
So
Dublin?
He
Hello.
Dublin performed at the 50th, and he did a Collie Bud song and remixed it, and the crowd went wild. You know.
It's the part of like they see the visual but they don't expect that to come out to the visual. Yeah.
It's like a surprise factor,
Yeah.
but people vibe with that though. I mean,
They
like,
do.
and I think like it's just a testament to how well it's done because another white girl could have gone up with 10 times the confidence and sounded terrible. You know what I mean? So like, it's just like again, it was a great thing, but yeah. So from there. Was this like, did this have any influence on the new single or was it kind of just like a.
It definitely gave me the confidence for it.
So you didn't have any plans to record before this?
No, not
Okay.
at all. That was the funny part. This was a snowball effect like I've never seen. So I came home because, I was in New York and I was working and I was like, man, I just want to be home. Like I'm coming home. It was CPL and it was this big concert. And I told my mama, my sister, I was like, I coming home, man. I want to go see Shensia in my hometown. Shensia playing, I'm coming. I'm going to be front row and center. And I just came home to be free and enjoy myself. And it literally just snowballed into it. The Shensia thing happened. And then I got such a positive response. So that blasted on social media. It was on TikTok, it was on Instagram. Multiple people were posting it everywhere. And I was going through the comments, shaking in my boots because I was like, oh, this may not be as good as I think it is. But it was so positive. People were like, wow, this girl really represent for us. Guyana, big Guyana flags everywhere. And I was just like, this might be my time.
Yeah.
Because before, I don't think they were ready for somebody who looked like me to sing like me, to sing this way. And it seemed that I was on the stage, and the fact that, I feel like I held my own on that stage with Shensia, and the fact that people saw me in that light, it became more of like, wow, we're more open to this girl now. Let us see what this girl has to offer. So after that, I jumped on with some producers. I asked a couple of people who were in the industry who were like the top producers in Guyana, link me with somebody right now. And he sent me a track and I wrote the song. And so the show was September with Shensia. By end of October, the song was done, recorded, ready
Really?
to go. Yeah, it just happened that quick. Happened that quick.
The producer's Guyanese?
Mr. Joey Too Cool, Joel Brown. He is honestly one of the best. He produces a lot of the artists that
He's based in Guyana?
yeah.
Okay.
Calvin Burnett, Nikita.
Oh, Calvin's good.
Yeah, like that's his whole team. He's so good, and he has like tracks just on deck, just ready to go. And he just sent me one, and he's the one who's basically helping me spearhead this whole project. I just came from shooting the video with him and his crew, and he's been so amazing. He's guided me, and he's, I got very high anxiety, so every time I panic, he's like, "Girl, relax yourself. You're doing fine. Everything is good. Everything easy."
Yeah.
So it just snowballed like that. Then we released the song. I just came home to shoot the video, and then it's like unfolding. It's beautiful. It's like watching a flower just bloom, and it's very liberating, and I feel more like myself now than I've ever felt in my entire life.
You live in the moment.
Like,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like.
That's the only thing you could do.
Yeah. I think like that's kind of where, and to just go back to the idea of like, this pressure and all this self. I think it's because we don't live right now. We're always thinking about what after, what next,
Correct.
I find
That's
myself
exactly
in
what
that
it
trap
is.
a lot. But yeah, no, it's so nice to hear that coming from you.
Yeah.
And with the song though, I thought like, and this is maybe a testament to my ignorance and the kind of, maybe a lot of other people aren't sure about this, but I actually didn't know the song was produced by a local guy
100%.
here.
And I did that on purpose. I actually reached out to Remix Chick, Michaela, and I know she's very well versed in the industry. And I said, Michaela, listen, I need you to tell me who's in the movement right now, who's one of the top producers. And I asked a few people, and unanimously it was Joey. Joey Too Cool.
Yeah.
Like, you got to work with Joey Too Cool. And he was ready to go.
Nice.
He was ready to go. And it was my personal preference. Like, I only want to work with Guyanese people. I only want to work with Guyanese producers. I only want to work with Guyanese directors and filmmakers. And because I feel like we have so much talent here, untapped, unappreciated in general. And that was on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That was on purpose. I reached out because I wanted a full all Guyanese project. And I think we delivered. I hope when the video come out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the song is great. So
Thank you.
So this is, you've been singing from forever.
Birth.
From birth.
Basically.
I remember. I was around.
You was there.
Well,
You
almost.
was there.
Not as old as you.
Wow. You call me out like that.
I mean, because I'm also very, cognizant of my age.
Okay.
It shows your
I can
maturity.
let
It
this
shows
go.
we
I
can
can let this
preserve-
go, Alex. I can let this go.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say it like that.
No, I just kidding. I just kidding.
You're my big sister
I
for a long
know,
time.
I know. It's funny. I don't know if you want to read this. I know we know each. I don't think anybody knows how long me, Alex, Vicky, and Caitlin know each other.
No.
We grew up they lived a minute walk from us, and we grew up in each other's yards, and like that's how far back we go. And for me to see you thrive, and for you to see me thrive, I think is just
It's
like
amazing.
a powerful thing.
I remember, just
It's a powerful
to
thing.
go back there, I remember one time walking into your house. I walked to come online with y'all. Or I think I was going to visit Katie, and then I walked around the left side, and by the porch, you and Mr. Adams
Yes.
were there with the guitar and
Oh
going,
my God.
la, 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 la,
Poor Mr. Adams. Poor Mr. Adams was trying to teach me to play the guitar. I still don't know to play up to now.
Yeah.
That poor man. Oh my God.
But that's,
Big up
go way
Mr.
back,
Adams
yeah.
if you listen.
I don't know. I have no
I ain't
idea.
giving that man so much help. But yeah, the
So
memories.
you're this is your first time in the industry though. So this is the first time you're pursuing it like
locally.
locally.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
yeah, absolutely. At this level, I feel like I've tried before, but I didn't put my heart and soul into it the way I am now. For
Okay.
sure.
Are you? So this is what interests me the most, and I think it's a good conversation to have with regards to, really pushing culture and art and stuff like that in Guyana, like any art form, any sort of, artistic process. It's so important to talk about the business behind it, and you're obviously new, so no pressure, because I know you may not have all the answers yet, but the sort of doing film, for example, I've always felt that industry it's grown a lot over the past 7 to 10 years, I would say.
And because of you, let's put that.
I wouldn't
Because
never
of
say
you.
that. I would never say something.
I
But
said
thank
it.
you. I appreciate you. I appreciate that confidence. in
And
me.
Vicky, because of
Vicky.
y'all, absolutely.
So-
Real Guyana has done a lot for video in Guyana.
Yeah, shout out.
100%. No,
Shout
for
out.
real.
Thank you.
No.
But a hard thing with, even up to today, it's kind of, anybody can make an amazing film or an amazing song, but if no one listens to it, or if there's no revenue generation, then it's extremely hard to sustain. and I don't know anything about the music industry, and I know snippets of the film and production space. What I've noticed is that we have a lot of talented people. Many people haven't pushed the boundaries of the craft, which is fine because you can do whatever you want. But when it comes to business, it's always been a very casual, word of mouth, undocumented process, which in turn leads to a lot of complications on the back end. I want to say to put it bluntly, it's maybe a form of unprofessionalism.
100%.
So, and as a result, I've sort of been in some weird situations where I felt things could have gone better if we just put this down on paper. Like if there was a process or if there was a market standard for us, because what I've heard a lot, and this drives me up the wall, is when I procure a service from someone, I'm like, okay, before we start this, how much is this gonna cost me? And I'm willing to pay it, by the way, because if I'm working with you, I want to work with you, and I'll pay, obviously within reason, or we can come to an agreement. But what I hate for you to tell me is, man, just left something, man. We can. You tell me how much, whatever you want, whatever you, and
The struggle.
and I remember one time I've done that. I've gone back. I said no, I'd never do that. I'm not doing that. Till the man just refused to budge, and I'm like, okay, whatever, because I really have to get this project done. And then on the back end, and he kept telling me, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I enjoy doing this, which is you could never do business like that. And this is one of the mistakes I made early on. And then at the back end, when everything is done, he's like, so where's my money? And I'm like, fine, I definitely, yes, thank you for telling me. How much do I owe you?
And they still can't call a number.
How much you want left? like, are you serious right now? So again, it's like those kind of things that really hurt the industry, and it hurts artists. And I think a lot of the times I see like artists of all kinds complain about, man, Guyana ain't got no opportunity, man, and like the government ain't doing enough for us. Okay, there should be some opportunity provided by the public sector, but you may know that like in most artists' case, this is a self-promotion business.
100%.
So when you suffer,
so
this is why what's so important how you open up with is that if you don't believe in yourself unconditionally, you
ain't going
are
nowhere.
done. Like you just forget about it. You're in the wrong business. Go write or go produce or something behind. Like you have to sell yourself, and it's uncomfortable. It's not nice.
It's the most painful thing. Yeah. It's the most painful thing when you have to push your vision out into the open. It leaves you so vulnerable. It leaves you so self-conscious. It's a very, very, very hard thing to do. But like coming back to that point where the business aspect is concerned, I believe Guyana is not very well versed as of yet in the laws of and the ways around dealing with intellectual property, copyright, and those things. Guyana is a very goods and service-based economy, and intellectual property is very new to this economy. How do you put a price on your idea? That's something that you pull out of your head. How do you put a price? How do I put a price on a melody that I created? And we have people that are working through, are navigating a space where this is not yet solidified in law. We don't really have great copyright laws, if any. I don't think we do.
They're archaic, but I heard
archaic is the word.
They hold up when it goes on the litigation.
But if, let's say, you and Vicky are sitting down in a room with two other people, and you say an idea of this is what I want and this is the vision that I see, how do you turn that into money? It's an idea, right? It's intellectual property. We as a economy in Guyana, as in the business aspect of it, are not able to turn ideas into money just yet. There's something missing in the fact that I don't know if it's not valued as much, but intellectual property is very, very valuable everywhere else in the world.
Well, you can technically, I think, patent, or you can sort
100%.
of legalize.
But then talk about patent laws. Like, how are patent laws in Guyana? Are we anywhere near the level of international, what international patent laws are like? I remember when I was 15 years old, and if I wrote a song, the producer said to me, this is how I copyrighted my songs when I was 15. He's like, write your lyrics on a piece of paper, take it to the post office, put it in an envelope, seal it, take it to the post office, and let them stamp it. And that is your evidence that you wrote this song. It was an unopened piece of mail stamped by the post office. No. That was how you copyrighted your lyrics.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how we progress from there, but the intellectual property needs to be way more valued than it is, because we're moving into a space where what we're doing now is intellectual property. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What I'm doing with music is all intellectual property, and we have to learn to turn that into a profit.
Sure.
So that's I think where we need improvement on as a society, as a country, as an economy. We need to value our intellectual property because it's I mean your idea, it's your ideas, you know.
So who owns Slow Down?
So Joey has the production rights. So he created the track, he created all of the music. I created the melody and I created the lyrics. So Joey and I have a 50-50 split on the song.
Okay.
He has the production rights and I have the songwriting rights.
And feel free to not answer. I'll just
No, go ahead.
But so when you perform, if I hire you to perform at my private concert and I pay you $1 million, does 50 go to Joey, or is that determinant on whatever deal you have with your
Correct.
producer?
So what the 50-50 split
I don't want to know your
entails-
deal. I just want to know
No.
how does this work?
That's how it works in general. So once a recording is done, a 50-50 split like how we have, that goes for streaming, that goes for downloads, that goes for purchasing, that goes for all digital aspects of it. Even the video will come and all that stuff. Performance is different. That's where the artist gets paid. So a lot of times I'm lucky enough to be able to write my own music. Some artists don't write their own music. Some artists have ghostwriters and producers, and some writers just kind of perform, and then that's the end all of their contribution. My case, I write the music. When it comes to performances and hiring the artist to perform, that's the artist, and the artist deals with the producer and their team in a way that's a separate
Structure.
What do you call it? Separate structure, separate agreement.
Yeah.
In the say that, like, hey, Joey, like, I'm going to perform here. They're paying me $100,000. Because this is your track, I'm going to give you 25%, or I'm going to give you, but all of the splits are to do with digital downloads, digital streaming, and that's
which is good, because I mean, like, at least that's solidified in these big platforms
Correct.
that constantly generate revenue.
Correct.
It makes sense.
correct. And you don't need to count it. These are all digitally generated.
Which is what
and
I was
it's-
telling. So this is a great conversation to have, because, and I want to bring something up a little closer to home. So obviously we're going through the whole border crisis now, and then
I know exactly where you're going with this.
So
Yep.
Dave Martin, his song,
Took off.
basically it's always been like a very nationalistic song, but it's sort of had this like rebirth now, and as a result, these conversations have now come up. Well, first of all, I have a few thoughts on this. One is that it's great that there's a legacy to that song. The issue arises when all the other artists want to perform it in solidarity, and I get that. That's fine, right? But then, Not a Blade of Grass is one thing, which has to have its own copyright discussion, but you want to do every other thing as well. And it's like, now is your time. You need to make you need to be the new Dave Martins, like what I mean? Like, so we really have to sort of think about, creating this own image to push music, one, and then two, with the copyright, it's like it has to be disputed if it's on like these big platforms, because that's where the money is essentially made. And so, for example, I think Juke Ross did. I don't know the details behind this agreement. I have no idea. I'm out of the loop. I haven't really, and it's not my place to talk about it. But if you look at Juke Ross's song "Not a Blade of Grass," which is an amazing cover,
You did a good job.
probably one of the best cover I've ever seen, and it's just an amazing song objectively. But when you look at the bios, and I was looking at yours today on Spotify, written by music produced by, Dave's nowhere in there. So
That's incorrect then.
Yeah. So and it's blank, and the label, I think, is a Jamaican company. So I don't know what the deal was back then, but it's just kind of, and I don't want to point fingers or anything, but it's just kind of how we've operated, where we just take things and we turn them into ours because the laws don't exist here.
That's where the intellectual property
But
comes
time
in.
sort of catches up on you, and then
Yep.
it becomes a conversation. And I actually, you know, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I think back to maybe some things I did. I don't think I don't think there's anything I've ever taken liberty with necessarily without permission. But I'm like, shit, you know, like I hope that I didn't do any of that, because that would, you know, it's you really, in this day and age, especially if we want to be taken seriously, we have to like be very circumspect about all this.
Right. There's a difference though. You as a videographer, as a content creator, as you didn't go out and say, hey, I like this idea, I'm going to take it and redo it. You may have gotten inspiration from certain areas, and that's fine. There was an entire lawsuit. I don't know if you heard about it with Ed Sheeran, where he was sued by the family estate of Marvin Gaye.
Yes, yeah.
How he stole the chords for Let's Get It On. And Ed Sheeran stood up and sat down in a courtroom with his guitar, and he played those chords over and over again, and he sang about 4 or 5 different songs on those chords. And it comes to the argument of what is copyright infringement? What is stealing? Because you can't steal a chord progression. There are 100,000 different pop songs that have the same chord progression. That doesn't mean you stole it. That's the chord progression.
Yeah.
So that's different. Getting inspiration from and you know, there's only a certain amount of chords, and there's only a certain amount of aspect of music that's available in life. It's just different combinations of different chords. Let's just say in just the music example. You can get inspired by, and you can get a feeling of, and you could want this vibe, and that's all fine, and that's all legal. But if we're talking about Not a Blade of Grass, that's the full song, the full melody, that's the song.
Lyrics verbatim.
That's the song. Yeah, that's the song. Guyana has no laws. Guyana has no laws about this, but I believe in the United States, there's like almost like a statute of limitations where after 10 to 15 years, it's free game. You're allowed to sample. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to do that. If the song is over 20 years old, you're allowed to use that sample free of charge. I don't know how that works if you're literally just covering the song. That's something completely separate. If the song was covered and there was no credit given, I think that's a little bit problematic, because I mean, everybody knows,
at least especially on the
Dave
platform.
Martin and Trade Winds, like that was their song. Everybody knows that song. So I mean, for that to have no credit given is
that was I think his. I'm actually not sure who wrote it. I mean, he definitely did, but I don't know if the Trade Winds were involved as well. I actually got to look that up.
Yeah, but that's where the intellectual property comes in, and it's super important. And we need, as a country and as an economy, we need to recognize that is a huge part of our business moving forward.
I wonder if more people sued or took to litigation copyright cases, if that would somehow help build the system. You know what I mean? Like if you know, people went and sang over Slow Down, you know, and you took them to court, it would just force the system to kind of work. It would set precedent.
I mean, I would hope so.
Because right now we're kind of just going on, well, no, Not a Blade of Grass is we song now.
Yeah, it's we own. I guess it's just we own now. It's just we own. But it should be. I mean, this is people's hard work. Like I spent days.
Sorry to cut you, but I hate talking about we got sued. And
it's not about that.
It's not about that.
No.
You know, it's about how do we move forward? Do we just collectively kill the industry, and you know, because we're stubborn, or do we? It's rough.
And that's another thing. I feel like a lot of Guyanese artists are not appreciated the way that they should be. I mean, like a lot of these shows, you know, even the Shania show, Sean Paul, Machel, they came down, they were paid, I mean, hundreds of thousands US to come and perform, when we got amazing artists right here. We got, you know, Nikita, we got Adrian Dutchin, we got Calvin Burnett, we got all of these people that are very talented, but will never be showcased, because Guyana's, I feel like they're more interested in pulling Sean Paul and Shania and Machel, and it's like, you need to start building your own, because these people are very talented.
But it's our thing, right? I mean, we love this sort of foreign-mindedness, which is like,
but we have it right here.
Well, but that's the thing. But if you went away and made it in New York, don't you think they'd love you?
That's my saying though. They
Yeah.
would love me more if I got famous in New York.
But if
Why
you
you can't
stayed
love
here,
me
if you stayed
now?
here and made the same music, they're like, ah, you know,
That's not fair.
bring
man.
Shansi again.
Exactly.
Bring Kes again for the millionth time.
I-
Love Kes, by the way.
I know, me too.
Love
I'm a big
but
Kes
I'm
fan.
sure Kes is like, oh God, Guyana.
I know. They're like, anybody in Guyana could
Kes
say.
been Guyana so many times he starts saying chicken curry. Like, it's just
100%.
terrible. But
100%.
yeah,
I
mean,
just wish, and it's not only me. Even before I came back into the scene, I wish Guyanese artists had more respect and more love, and because they're very talented and they work hard. They work hard. Adrian Dutchin is like Soca Monarch, like 5 years running. You know what I mean? These are talented people.
these artists, are they full time or?
Yes, Adrian is full. Adrian lives in New York. Adrian performs in clubs constantly. Adrian,
For diaspora, like our Caribbean.
yeah, absolutely. I actually just recently went to. We have a group of Guyanese, or one particular person who performed, put together Dem Rock Awards. So like, and it was a bunch of Guyanese people recognizing and appreciating Guyanese artists, and Adrian Dutchin just won like lifetime achievement in the, but it's just like, why can't we do that here for our people? Like, why we gotta spend hundreds of $1,000s on Caribbean artists when we got it right here?
But what is holding the industry back? Is it opportunity to perform? Is it lack of content? Is it because I've been thinking about this today, and to be a successful artist, how many songs? You would have to at least start with a big catalog of songs.
Correct.
You'd have to get those songs played. You'd have to get it stuck in people's head. It has to be like that earworm that causes you to sing the song. You know what I mean? Like, how do you develop a fan base here? Like, who do you have to collaborate with? Like, what are your main events? In my opinion, you kind of want your songs to be played in the club. You kind of want your songs
radio.
Yeah. You want like the younger people, especially. That's your constant market, because they're taking that with them as they grow, and then the next generation's coming in, and
Absolutely.
So how do we go about building up our artists? Like, what's missing in your opinion?
I guess it goes back to what you're saying, is that we're just so, we as a society are just so foreign minded. It's just that we see that as being better, when it's more of the same. It's not better. It's just the perception of it being better. I've seen Adrian Dutchin hold on a stage.
Yeah.
Like he performed before Nikita, and Adrian performed before Shansia came on, and I was up front carrying on. Like, I love me some Adrian Dutchin, and it's just, I feel like it's not exactly what you said. Like, the radios need to be pushing it more, Adrian, I know for sure, is very big on TikTok, and he does his own content, and he's really, I just feel like it's not pushed by our local people, and I hope my song gets pushed on the radio, but there's only.
Who are you talking to? Like, who do you approach to get that out there?
I mean, it's, HJ is probably one of like the biggest in the industry right now, and they have like 3 or 4 different shows on air right now, and it's just, do I want to pay to put my song on? It's one of those things where,
it's unsustainable.
If I have to pay you to play my song, then I'm going to run out of money, and then I'm not going to have money to put into my videos, and to put into my recording, and to put into my production. Like, you as a Guyanese DJ should want to push your fellow people. You should want to push, because it's not like we're not talented. The talent is here. I just don't know. I truthfully don't know what the missing link is either. And I that's my goal in this process as well, as I go through it, is to find what that missing link is.
I mean, this is good conversation, because I'm just being devil's advocate. I could say, the DJs would say, well, we can't eat goodwill. We gotta make something too, and which is fine. Like, I get that,
Yeah.
But then kind of like there's, the missing link has to be something, because a lot of maybe artists also are monetized on social media. And you can't really get monetized here because of our sort of finance setup.
Yeah.
It's not like you can make money off of Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Not here, yeah.
Unless you're just doing direct sponsorship, like, slow
It's
down,
hard.
whatever.
It's so hard. I don't know. It's so hard. But the talent is here. We just have to find a way to push it out there. The
Yeah.
talent is definitely here.
So how are you gonna? When are you gonna? Not to jump to the next one already.
Jump. Let's
But
go.
when
Let's
are you gonna put the next one out?
Working on it right now. The video literally was, I just came from the video shoot straight here. That video is probably going to be out mid-January.
for
The Slow
Slow
Down,
Down.
yes.
Yeah.
We just wrapped that up. So they're going to be editing it probably mid-January. That's going to come out.
Why shoot a video? Just, I'm asking just very naively. Why shoot a video? What does that do for you?
Just content. Just content. It's I guess self-promotion. It's another way. You can push an audio for as much as you want, but we have turned into a very visual society. TikTok, Instagram, you can like scroll through TikTok. If something doesn't catch your eye, you scroll in. So we got to get visuals along with the audio. We have to get a package. It has to be a package. It has to be enticing enough for somebody to stop and say, hey, I'm going to take a look at this. And visuals is where we're at in our society. If we're not gripped visually, we move on very quickly. So
are you managing marketing distribution for video?
I kind of doing I doing everything.
Okay.
I doing everything.
So
me and Joey and his team are like we just filmed everything, and I'm just as much as I can. I'm everything. I do my own TikTok, Instagram as well. I just pushing it out as much as I can.
Yeah. How do you balance this persona with your professional life?
Oh my
Well,
God.
this is your professional life, but your other professional life.
I got
Your
two
secondary
professional lives.
life.
I got two professional lives. Yeah. That's a very good question. It's getting harder and
The reason I
harder, to
ask
be
is
honest.
because how do you know when to be Megan?
And
How
when
do
to
you
be
know
Margaret?
Margaret Vera, doctor.
I don't know. It's literally between the Guyana and US.
Yeah.
In the US, I'm still Margaret Weir because nobody knows me over there, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And everybody here knows me as Megan. It's exhilarating. I'm not even gonna say it's hard. It's exhilarating. I work very hard. I've been a physiotherapist in the United States, in New York, for the last 8 years. I love my job. I love it so much. I help. It's literally my job to heal people. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life. And that is me giving everything of myself to other people. And music now, where music is concerned, that's me giving everything that I can back to myself. That's how I'm balancing it. My professional career as a physiotherapist is me giving as much of myself as I can to others, and music is me balancing it by just giving back to myself. That's how it is. I feel like I am fulfilling my lifelong dream. My paycheck from my professional job is helping me, fund my dream. So that's fantastic. I mean, I get to live both lives, which is incredible. Who knows how long I'll get to live both lives? One might outshine the other at some point, and I'll have to take that as it goes. But as of now, they're working beautifully in sync.
That's life, though, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Balance.
you never
That's
know
it.
what's gonna happen when, and you just gotta
Never.
figure it out.
Never.
It's
You never know.
exciting.
I am so excited.
And I think once you kind of accept that, plus you're living in the present, it just makes like this moment so perfect,
It is.
Once you really are just aware of the factors involved and just grateful to be here, I feel like you constantly gotta keep finding that, like it's not,
Yeah.
you never just achieve enlightenment one time and you're good.
No.
You just constantly searching for that.
And it keeps going. I'm also a songwriter, not only for myself. I recently opened my own LLC, my own business, called Megan Music LLC, and I am a songwriter. And my first client was Miss Denise Belfont.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I got into networked with a producer who reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is a song that is for Miss Denise Belfont. We have the track, we have a concept. Can you write the song?" And I said, "I will give it my best shot." And I wrote it, and she loved it. And she messaged me and she was like, I love what you're doing, and I would like to hire you to write my entire new album. So on top of being a physical therapist and my own music career, I'm also a full-time writer for Miss Denise Belfont. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say, man.
Wow.
This my life,
Congratulations.
Shensia dragging me up on that stage just flipped my life all the way around. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore.
What an amazing story.
It's crazy.
You know,
It's
you should-
crazy.
I like, they behind every performer, there's like this story, right, of how you sort of break onto the scene.
So
That's like
crazy.
yours.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
That's
My life has literally flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right now. I'm not gonna do it. But it's been great.
Yeah. Well, what would you sort of, just quickly to go back as it crossed my mind, when you were talking about like artists putting themselves out there, what's one piece of advice you can sort of give a young person coming up who wants to pursue this kind of dream, this career, this profession? Given the factors at play that we know right now, what's the best way that they can further their career? Assuming they have the self-confidence, assuming they have the talent, it's just about like getting out there.
It's more about putting in the hours, man. I know what held me back for a very long time is opinions of others. There's always going to be somebody that has something negative to say about you. There's always going to be somebody who's going to say, man, that don't sound good, or I don't know what you think you're doing, or you think you're doing something, or there's always going to be somebody negative trying to hold you back. Always, no matter what you're trying to do, somebody is going to be trying to pull you down. And it's really your job to not let them. It's really your job to know what your vision is, to know what you are looking for, to know what you feel like you can produce, and just go out and do it. Unapologetically, not listening to anything anybody else has to say, and just do it. I feel like I let negative voices hold me back for a very, very long time. And it's only until I decided to tune them out that I'm starting to shine, I think.
You said therapy really helps you.
Oh my God.
What was it clearly was something you discovered after a while. What was like that, the catalyst to pursue that?
Self-love, man. Like you cannot do anything, or you cannot be anybody unless you absolutely love who you are. I think it was an interview with Zoe Saldana who said, I love myself. I love how I learn. I love the mistakes that I make. I love how I learn from my mistakes. I love the pace at which I learn from my mistakes. And I memorized that because I was just like, that's the most profound thing I've ever heard in my life. You have to look past everything else and realize that there's only one you. There's nobody else. There's only one you. And the way that you learn and the way that you love yourself is what's going to transform you into who you want to be. I've had a therapist for a very long time. My sister, Caitlin, is a mental health professional. Like, I would not be here if it wasn't for her. She actually was one of the major reasons that I got guided in the right direction. I don't want to get too deep or anything, but I've been through it. I've been through abuse. I've been through people being negative. I've been through eating disorders. I've been through people just pummeling me into the ground, and physically, mentally, emotionally. I've been through it, and I literally clawed myself out of it just by loving myself and realizing that I am never going to be anybody else, and there's never going to be anybody else that will do it like I will do it. And that's it. You have to love what you are, who you are, and what you're doing. You have to. And that's where therapy comes in, because you do need therapy to get to that point.
Beyond therapy, who's your like support system?
My mom, my sister, for sure. I have a bunch of friends in the US that are like, they laugh at me because they're like, oh, so you're going to be a big reggae star now? And like, I got a bunch of flack for everything, but I really have a wonderful support system. And I have people who literally will sit down and play my song over and over and be like, "Girl, I'm running up your streams for you." I'm like, "Thank you, that's so nice."
Those are the best friends.
I know.
Yeah.
Those are the best friends.
We have Vicky and I have that. Who does it for us? Who's the constant Real Guyana podcast advertiser? We're always out in public and we got like these group of friends and family. My grandma is like one of the biggest ones.
Iris.
So they got a podcast, you know. Our friends are like,
Those
"What's a
are the
podcast?"
people. That's another thing. Other than therapy, you need to keep those people close to you, not the negative people. We always have a tendency to focus more on the negative people. We always have a tendency to focus on the criticism. We always have a tendency to focus on the people who saying, "You're ugly, you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing." Like, don't focus on those people. Focus on those people who are yelling on the street corners about how amazing your podcast is or how amazing your song is. Those are the people who deserve your focus. Don't bother with everybody else. Don't bother with everybody else.
No doubt. Yeah. No, that's definitely. I think like, you know, it's like I said, back to just the you know, any creator, you just need to have that. It's almost like a mental like a strategy of how you're gonna pursue this to keep positive, to keep every time I make a documentary or I put out a piece of work that I've spent months or a year plus on. It goes out, and regardless of if it does well or if it doesn't do well, you know, I'm sort of done with it. And then when I go on to the next one, I don't know if this happens to you, but I have like serious imposter syndrome.
Oh,
like I feel
that's
like
the words right there.
I feel like I'm like, I wonder if that last one was just a fluke. I wonder if like everything just aligned perfectly, and I'm this big fraud that doesn't know what he's doing. Like people are seeing right through it. Like, this is stupid. Why am I even doing this? And then I just keep chugging away, and I'm like, you know what, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna do it, and if this one breaks me, then fine. Like, that's the investment I have to make, right? But then as you kind of go along, you're like, wait, no. It starts to feel familiar. The skills, the vision, the confidence, the positivity, and then you start to get the momentum, and then you work through that whole artistic process, which is another thing in itself. But you know, it's like it really takes a mental toll, and like my wife just like kind of laughs at me because the start of every year I'm just like, I don't know who I am. Like, what am I doing?
That's
and then
real,
she's like, this is like
though.
your cycle again. You
That's
back at like the
so
bottom.
real.
Don't worry, just give it like a couple weeks. and
Oh,
you'll be
that is
alright.
so real. That is so real.
But no, it's like, yeah, it's tough. And not to say that, like, you know, I just want to put myself on a pedestal, but I just think that that's kind of what people go through, I assume. Because it's like, you know, regardless of the fact that we say we don't want to keep looking for the validation, in a way, the validation is important.
100%.
You know, like,
Because if nobody's listening to you, then what do you do
Yeah,
it for?
for
You
sure.
you do want people to listen to you.
Yeah.
But this going back to that, and what dug me out of that mindset, I get imposter syndrome like crazy. But what dug me out of that mindset is something that my sister actually told me. She's like, if you don't question yourself, and if you don't doubt yourself, and if you don't keep going back and thinking, did I do this right? Or could I have done this better? Then that's how you grow. That's how you grow, by going back and you analyzing the things that you've done. It doesn't have to be negative all the time. It doesn't have to be like, man, I really messed this up. This was terrible. It's like, no, this is what I did. It came out great. What could I have done better? What could I have done different? And that's how you grow. That's how you master your craft, by not so much imposter syndrome, but by analyzing what you've done and taking that and just going forward with it. You learn a lesson from everything that you've done. I'm sure from the first video you've ever made to the last video you've ever made, you're a different person now.
Yeah, I look back at the first.
You're
I'm
a
like,
different
cringe
person.
city.
It's not
Terrible.
cringe, but you would have never been here
No, for sure. I would've
if you
never-
weren't
no,
there.
No, exactly. And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. You have to be grateful for that, because nothing you have done or missed, or if you had done everything perfect the first time, you would not have been as good as you are now.
Then there's no room for growth.
No.
But on that note, though, it's funny how, and I would love to hear your experience if you've had any. But when I started, I started at E-Networks. Michaela actually was the one that got me into E-Networks to do content for them. She's just helping everybody. She's such a do-gooder. Shout out
Big
to her.
up, Remix Chick, just
Yeah.
blowing up everybody right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so I went to E-Networks, and then I kind of did my thing there, came on to form Real Guyana, and I remember like my stuff was getting like noticed by people, you know, and everybody in my extended circle, people who were my friends, and so thought would see me and be like, hey, like, you know, I love your stuff and it feels amazing. And I remember like feeling on top of the world. And all this is very new to me because my sort of my endorphins came from sports. I got that kick from sports
That's
before.
right. Yeah.
And in sports, when you're winning, you feel very like, oh, nobody could touch me. Like I'm the best thing that ever happened. I'm God's gift, whatever. And I remember I was doing a job for this client, and it's like an organization, you know, and they're like they've been giving me work, and they've been liking what I'm doing, and it was about 6 videos, and on the 4th one, I was like, oh yeah, you know, maybe I'm just gonna go off because there's a structure to doing these videos for them for their marketing thing. It's like, you know, I have this artistic idea that I want to implement in this video, you know, and like I'm gonna like show them like this is what really is gonna work, not what they asked me to do, you know. And I did it, and the guy, the head of the organization, who I had a meeting with him, called me in for a meeting, and he's like, Alex, like, what is this? Like, this is not what we want. This is terrible.
Stop.
But in the most professional, diplomatic way. But he could have cussed me out. It would have meant the same. You know what I mean? Like
it still hurts. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
100%. But I just remember that being like my most humbling moment. You know, it's like, don't ever think your shit doesn't stink. You know what I mean? Like it's and I think that's something you constantly have to remind yourself to stay grounded, and we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and it's nothing wrong with feeling good. But there's always like, you always have to keep checking. You know, am I?
And if you don't, somebody gonna check you.
Exactly,
that's for sure.
Exactly. But it's like it's a good thing, you know, because like
that's how you grow.
yeah, that's where the growth comes from.
That is how you grow.
And thanks to him, like I feel like I approach business a lot better. Like I feel like I carry myself in a way that before I could have just been left to my own devices and really burnt bridges or whatever. And I'm grateful for that. Like, you know, it still hurts me today. The fact that I just told you,
those
like,
stick with you. Yeah. Those stick with you. Those rejections will stick with you forever. That's a fact. They will stick with you. But those are the ones that push you to be better every time. They push you to be better every time. You will never forget that.
You ever regret doing anything in your sort of?
Oh, this show is not long enough, Alex. This show is not, so many regrets. Yeah. I have tons of regrets. No, but then again, I go back to it. You know, every single mistake I made, every moment in time, everything that I thought I hated about myself brought me to this moment. So, sure. And I love where I am. I love exactly where I am right now. I love the attention that I'm giving to my professional career. I love the attention I'm giving to music. I'm surrounded by a great team of people who have the same vision that I do. And I don't think I could have gotten here without all those little failures, you know? So I can't really say it hurts. Just like you just said, like that's going to hurt you forever. There's lots of things that are going to hurt you forever. I remember there was a HJ TV show that they used to do back in the day where you were on video and it was like your top 10 countdown. So they had me on. They were like, yo, this is Mega Vera. She's going to do her top 10 songs or whatever. And I remember I was on there and I was so nervous. I was shaking. I had to be like 15 years old. And I had on shades because I was so nervous and I did not want to look into the camera. And I was listening to like all the comments and stuff. People were talking about, what is big nose self? What is girl wearing glasses inside? What is wrong with this girl? And I was just like, oh no, I'm 15 and I'm just like crying at home. I cried for days. I was like, I'm never doing music again. I'm never doing this. This is not for me. I can't take this. But that builds you. Yeah. And I will never forget that.
Yeah, birth by fire.
I will never forget that. But it's, you know, it kind of like, it's like sandpaper. It's like you become polished by somebody.
Or you build up some calluses.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta protection.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah. No,
but it brings you to where you are. You can't regret. Regret is a waste. Yeah. Regret is an absolute waste.
Who are some of your like inspirations? Like, I know you I could kind of guess that when you were younger.
No, just
well
kidding.
now, but before were you into like Whitney Houston and stuff
Oh
like
my
that? Yeah,
God.
Whitney.
Obsessed.
Who like drives you now? Like the kind of style that you kind of look
Um,
to. Not, I wouldn't want to say Emily. You have your own
no,
style, but
yeah. I love jazz music.
yeah.
Jazz, soul, R&B. That's where really my heart is. And what is reggae if not jazz, soul, and R&B to one drop? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that's what reggae is. Reggae is soul. Reggae is R&B. Reggae is all of those things with our culture mixed into it. I am I love Adele so much. I'm obsessed with Adele. Whitney Houston will always be queen for now forever. Um, and there's some people in the industry that I absolutely respect, like Coffee.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
What a
Coffee not
vibe.
only is a fantastic recording artist, she's also a writer, and a writer for people that we don't even know. That's where she shines. There was talks of a Rihanna album. Remember when Rihanna was coming out saying she's doing a reggae album? Coffee was like the number one writer on that album. I don't know why that album didn't see the light of day, but she's also a very, very, very good writer, and I have so much respect for her. And she's like 25 years old. It's so
Yeah, yeah,
ridiculous how young she is,
yeah.
and how just profound she is. But
I like that Chronic's wisdom.
she's so good. They're so good. They're so good. I'm an old school Tammy Chin fan, Tessanne
Oh,
Chin
yeah.
fan. Elaine, you said Elaine earlier. If
Yeah.
Elaine and Adele had a baby, that would probably be me. I can just say that.
Nice.
That's me.
Yeah.
I would
It's a good
love to be
mix.
there. I would
Good
love to be
mix.
there. I'm their baby.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I like the female, like a lot of these female singers, like the groovy, like not groovy, but like you talk jazz and I'm thinking like this just real feelsy music. Like I love SZA, and like
She in a league of her own too.
Kalani is good. Like
League of their own.
those kind of vibes.
Absolutely. Her.
Her,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. They got a lot of artists coming out in the soul R&B genre now that we thought was almost like dead. Like we always
Yeah.
like her
Definitely.
when her came out, she had print vinyl and posters come out that said even like glasses cases and the cleaners for your glasses, the little cloths, they all said R&B is not dead, R&B is not dead, R&B is not dead. So like her movement brought R&B back because it was like fading out.
No way.
So thank God, because that's like one of my favorite genres. So they're just holding on to that really tight.
Have you thought about like when you're here, like, does it make sense to try and get on a stage and just sort of be active?
Absolutely.
Have you like what are the options for that? Like here, how do you where do you perform? What do you do?
That's a good question. So one of my biggest issues right now is that I'm not living here full time. So I'm not in the public eye. I'm not available as much as other artists are available, because when shows pop up and stuff, I'm in New York, I'm like, it's very difficult for me to fly from New York to do a show or whatever the case may be there. Also, they are not very great at paying local artists as well. So they're saving all of these money for Kess and Marshall, and that's all great, but this is where you got to put your money where your mouth is now. Like, you want your local artists to do better, you got to pay them what they're worth. I had, after this whole Shansia came about, I had someone approach a friend of a friend of a friend and say, hey, we might be doing this show. Is Megan available to perform? And I was in the US. I had already booked my flight back right now because I came back specifically this time to shoot my video. So they wanted me to come down around Christmas. And I told them, I was like, listen, I would love to come and perform. I have a flight booked for New Year's. I personally cannot afford another flight for Christmas and New Year's. So I will perform if you pay for my flight and you bring me down. And I never heard anything else, like no, it's like they don't want to pay into our local performers. So it comes to the point where how are we supposed to grow if we are setting our standard and we're setting, hey, I feel like I'm worth this much. I feel like my talent and my time is worth this much. And then you're going to turn to me and be like, nah, not really. Like, how am I supposed to grow as an artist if, that's how it's going to go? And I understand how it works. You want somebody that's going to be able to pull a crowd. You want somebody that's, going to give you a return on your investment. And I completely understand that. But there has to be some give. You can't just expect people to show up and perform for free. You can't expect me to fly down from New York in the peak season of, these flights are upwards of $1,000 to come and perform at your show for free. Like, I can't afford to do that. A lot of people can't afford to do that.
Sure.
So, if we want to build, the repertoire and, the respect of the local performers, you got to be willing to pay for them.
Or at least it has to be maybe better planned. Where, you can have this lineup months in advance.
Yeah.
And then you also have a good show. Because I find even like the big concerts, the switch over is such a buzzkill.
Yeah.
Like, Kessel be finished performing, it's Shensi is on next. And then they have to switch bands. And then they have to go lull.
Do you know how many local performers you could put in between those two?
Yeah, exactly.
You could, though, that is actually the perfect opportunity.
Have a DJ clash or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Perfect opportunity, because it is, especially at that concert. Yeah. There's literally 30 minutes easily of just nothing.
Yeah.
You could put in local performers in between those.
I think that's like an event problem we have in general, because all these events I go to, there's just like a lot of dead space.
Yeah.
And you have the crowd. So you need to like
keep them
force
engaged.
our people on
Absolutely.
them as well. Like even if it might not be the best thing ever, what I'm saying? Like we need to build our people up. Like we need to give them the exposure, like take the exposure of performing for these like massive crowds, so your confidence in the next gig is like skyrocketed.
Absolutely.
It's just all like a building game.
And it's also a repetitive game too. I mean, you can take a song that's maybe not so good, but if I play that song for you 10 times an hour, every hour for the next 2 weeks, I guarantee you will find yourself in your garden, and it's just gonna pop into your head, and you're gonna start singing it in your head. I don't care how bad the song is. That's how the music industry works.
Yeah.
That's how the music industry works. Why do you think? I mean, I love her to death. I love me some Taylor Swift. But the reason Taylor Swift is because you can't turn on a radio station without hearing her 24/7. Every radio station, you could flip from one to the next, and it's going to be a Taylor Swift song. It's like that's how it works. That's how psychology works. That's really how it works. You got to the repetition is what wires it into your brain and makes you hum it when you're not even thinking, and that's how songs are made.
We should run that experiment in Guyana, where for
I'm
like a full
telling
year
you.
we just run local, just local music.
I am
you
telling
could
you.
sprinkle some.
It will make such a difference.
Just to
I
see
am
what
telling
happens, you know?
I know what will happen.
People still talk smack, but like at the end of the day, they'll know those songs, and then they'll be
100%.
like, "Oh, I wonder why we stop here and Megan on the radio or whoever."
100%. I know exactly what will happen. That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Anyway, coming on to our close, I always kind of, whenever I have a guest, I like to do a little research, or I like to ask, I tell people, or my close friends, I'm like, oh, I'm having this person on, and these are some interesting like questions I have. What would you want to know from not necessarily you, but what would you want to know from a performing artist? What would you want to know from a doctor or whatever? And this wasn't actually a question. This wasn't actually a question that was submitted, but one day in a car, somebody actually asked me this, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good question to ask." A little controversial, so bear with
I
me.
love it. Give me all the controversy.
This question was also a hits blunt ask the question
Yes,
kind of question.
even better.
That's
Let's
the kind
go.
of question. So it's like, are you able to, different for everybody, but are you able to separate the art from the artist? And an example was like, you look at people like R. Kelly, for example, P. Diddy, like we know their songs, their anthems, Every time Ignition come on, I'm like screaming from the top of my lungs, And it's like, but like, some people are like, oh no, I don't, I personally think that the art is? Well, I'll let you answer. I'll let you answer before I give
That's
my
a
take.
tough question. I can grill you after this to find out who asked
No.
that question. 'Cause I wanna know. That's a very hard question. Yes and no. Objectively, a song could be good. Objectively, a song could be great. Key to Ignition is a perfect example. That's another one that's been drilled into our heads, and you can hear that intro anywhere, and you know that's the song coming, and you know, and it's a good song. Have you listened to the lyrics?
Yes.
Have you sat down and listened not to that song in particular, but to R. Kelly's lyrics in general? Like
Yes.
let's use that as an example.
Yes.
A lot of his songs, if you sit down and you analyze the lyrics, you realize how problematic those lyrics are. The melody and the music and the feel and the vibe might be great, but if you delve into what his lyrics are, and now that we know all of what we know, a lot of his lyrics are very problematic. Same with I love Chris Brown. I think he has a fantastic voice. He's a fantastic dancer. He's a fantastic artist. But I don't think I could ever listen to a Chris Brown song without thinking of what his history was with, let's say, Rihanna. Or that's not only it. I mean, he has so many different instances of abusing women or disrespecting women or all of that things, and you kind of do have to take that into consideration, because when an artist is promoting a song, they're not just promoting a song, they're promoting their persona, and it becomes very difficult to separate the two, because I can't love what you're doing if I don't also love what you stand for. I could love you as a person. Absolutely love you as a person. But I can't love what you're portraying. I can't love the lyrics you're spitting. I can't love the persona that you're spitting if it's not aligned with the things that I stand for. And it is very controversial. And I feel like if you are someone who continuously disrespects women, or continuously promotes the abuse of women, or continuously is controversial in the things that you say and the things that you do, it's very hard for me to listen to your music objectively after that, because I will be reading into your lyrics. I will be reading into everything that you're saying. And if I'm hearing your lyrics and you're talking about underage girls, and then I know what you're doing in your personal life, the enjoyment is gone for me.
Yeah.
The enjoyment is gone for me. So, like, especially with R. Kelly and that situation, yeah, Remix Ignition is, you're gonna hear that, and it hits you in a certain area. But if you really listen to the lyrics and you're just like, man, I don't stand for that. I can't stand for that. So it becomes difficult. But if your views and my views don't align, I'm not gonna enjoy the song the same way.
Yeah. And so, but this is based on that person's subjective actions and what they have portrayed that they stand for.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question, and I had to, I thought hard about it. Contrary to you, I'm not an artist, so I don't. For me, it just reminds me of a time. It brings me back.
I get
it's like
that.
nostalgic. And I thought it was tough. It was a tough one.
It is a very tough
I
question.
guess I tell myself that, I'm glad R. Kelly is punished for his actions. But what his actions outside of his music, I guess, don't concern me. I don't know much about R. Kelly other than his music and, being being charged for his crimes. But yeah, I guess, yeah. I still listen to Vibes Cartel, who allegedly killed somebody,
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
But
It's unfortunate. And that's why they say don't meet your idols, or, they just say, but these are people that they're putting their heart and soul into their music.
Yeah.
right? These are people that are, because I, as an artist, I pour my heart and soul into my music. I mean, even though the lyrics may seem very, surface level, slow down, watch it on me, drop it like a bass drum. You'd be surprised. I like pour my heart and soul into that. And you pour everything into it because you know the world is gonna see it. So you know the world is gonna see you. You put yourself in a very vulnerable position when you express those levels of yourself with the world. So that's how I'm looking at it, and as if that's the music that they put out, they poured themselves into. What did they pour into? They pour themselves into it, and if they are not the people, they don't align with what I feel like I align with. I can't listen to it the same way because I know what I put into my music, and if they put in what I put in, then I can't listen to it. I just
No, I
can't listen
respect
to
that.
it. Yeah, I
I
can't
respect it.
listen to it because it just shows me who you are. And I mean, if you really do sit down and listen to some of those lyrics, they're very controversial lyrics. Some of them, they're pretty controversial. I mean, you could go into the whole thing with as Michael Jackson as well. I mean, he has so much controversy around him. May he rest in peace. But I mean, it's hits after hits after hits. I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of those things where, as an artist, you give your heart and soul out to the world, and you're in such a vulnerable position, and you're just sitting there waiting for the world to react to you. But if that's what you're putting out, you're subjected to how people perceive it, how people receive it. And knowing what I know, there's certain songs that I can't listen to anymore. The same way. I mean, of course, you're not gonna play R. Kelly and be like, oh my God, shut it off. I can't listen to that. But it's just like, man, I really did like the song. It just doesn't feel, it don't hit the same.
Yeah.
It just don't hit the same. It's sad because it's quality music. It just don't hit the same, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
hear you. I hear you. I mean, it's a good perspective on it. Yeah.
Watch you can get me canceled before I even start.
I feel like I might get canceled because I'm still down to listen to the music. I gotta edit this part out.
No,
Just
no,
kidding.
I mean,
We don't edit
to each
anything
their
out.
own, man. To each their
Yeah.
own. It's just,
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's a tough one. But anyway, aside from that, I hope, our industry continues to grow, and
me
I
too.
love what you're doing, man. And thank you so much for coming here. It's such
No,
a
it's my
pleasure talking
pleasure.
to
It's
you.
an honor,
This felt
actually.
so effortless.
It was. It's like
Yeah.
we gaffing when we was 5 and 6 again.
Yeah, definitely.
You were 6 and I was 5.
Yeah, sure. Any last words? Anything you want to say? Not to put the pressure on you, but I know you're accustomed to the pressure now. So.
Boy, for real. No pressure. I just know how much I've grown, how much I love myself, and how much I value who I am right now. And I know that all came from just taking accountability and accepting myself, accepting my flaws, focusing on fixing my flaws. And I think you are your most authentic self when you really self-reflect and you really work on loving yourself. And I think once you get to that point where you love yourself, you put your best self out into the world. And I just wish that for everybody. I really do wish that for everybody. Because I'm at the point right now where, and it's not cocky per se. It's just, I'm going to do what feels good to me. I'm going to do what I love. Whether you like it or not, I'm still going to do it because it makes me happy. It fulfills me. And that is where my change came in. And I want that for everybody. Do what makes you authentically you. Do what makes you happy. And once you are happy and you radiate happiness, you are going to be so contagious to everybody around you. And that's really what it's about. That's really what it's about.
Megan, thank you so much. You
Thank
have been
you,
amazing.
Alex. Thank you, Vicky. I love you guys. This is so good.